What up, y'all? It is morning coffee number 30, dirty 30. Not really gonna be that dirty though. It's just coffee. I don't really know what you were expecting. Anywho, let's just do our obligatory check. I want to make sure that all of you that are here listening, the hundreds of billions of you that are watching and listening right now, I just want to make sure that. Anywho, let's just do our obligatory check. I want to make sure that all of you that are. Yep, you're here. Listening, the hundreds of billions. What's up? Happy Wednesday, hump day. Wednesday is legitimately one of my favorite days, and I don't really know why. There's nothing really that fun about Wednesday specifically. It's just, I don't know, I've always really liked it. Man, I am dehydrated. We had guests over last eve, which means that Sue and I get to basically eat whatever we want, which means we ate whatever we wanted. And I got really dehydrated. Anywho, good times, great oldies, cool 94.5. So there was something yesterday that I mentioned that I wanted to talk about today, and I don't remember what it was. And I could go back and look, but I didn't do it beforehand. I prepared so much today, but I did not prepare for that. So that might become a recurring theme. I might promise to tell you something and then not do it. And in fact, small little anecdote, I found... So when I used to be Mormon, I used to teach the kids, the young children, like under 10, 11 and under. I used to be their music leader, which was a lot of fun. But we used to play these games. This is so bad. I'm such a terrible person. We used to play these games, and the point of the game was to keep them like in line, keep them reverent is the term that we use, but you basically just keep them from freaking out because they're little balls of energy that just want to be bouncing off the walls all the time. And so what I would do is I would divide the room in half, and I would say, okay, whichever half does the best, who is the quietest and doesn't speak out of turn, gets the prize. And every week it worked like clockwork. They always played the game. They always wanted to be the winner, and I never gave them any prizes. So it was like I kept promising that I was going to give them some prize for being good, and then I never gave it to them. And I think just the funny thing there is, like, I think for kids that age, just the promise of something was enough to get them excited about it. But they didn't have enough memory and remember that they had been promised a prize. And so I don't think any. Of course, what's going to end up happening is that in 15 years, one of them's going to go crazy and like come find me, be like, you never prize. I was trying to be good. I'm like, I'm sorry. I forgot. I can't remember things from one day to the next. Anyway, so we talked yesterday about the time when I was home before I left and came back the first time. We kind of spanned a couple of pieces because I came home. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. This is exciting. And actually, it's perfect because it's the next part of the story. So we talked last time about when I came home for surgery and how that was kind of weird and it didn't really work out the way that I wanted to, and all the friction that I had allowed to creep into my mind just kept me from having what I wanted, which was just to have just to know where I was going and have everybody be okay with it. And luckily, I went through. There were enough of the right experiences at the right time where I learned that what I needed to do was get back out there and not let the horse win. I got bucked up a horse, not let the horse win. I got to get back on. So I went back, spent the next year and a half in Ukraine, had a lot of experiences, and like I said, I was an okay missionary. I know because of that experience I never would have made it in the military as a soldier because I don't do very well with like orders. Like this guy said this and then he passed it on to this guy and he said it to his under, like all the superiors all the way up. I was like, you don't know anything about my area. I know everything about my area because I'm here. So whatever you say is fine, but I'm just going to do my own thing. And I think that's part of the reason why that's part of the reason why I'm certifiably unemployable now, is because I've always worked remotely. And so it accentuates the problem of somebody who's in charge, who's pretty far removed from the day-to-day of what I'm doing, making decisions that have no context. They're not really based in the context of what I'm doing. At least that's the way it seems in my head. I don't know if that's actually the truth, but I just can't get over that. But after that whole thing ended and I came home, and I managed to, I served for the rest of the time. I did my time. I came home honorably, so to speak, and went back to Arizona. And I had an interesting. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to put off one more day, if you can forgive me. I'm going to put off one more day telling the funny story of what happened after I came home, like home, because something happened about 3 months before I came home that was extremely emotionally traumatic. And the way that I reacted to it, I think, has taught me a lesson about, like, how to deal with things. Well, it was different than what anybody was expecting. It was different than what I was expecting, the way that I reacted. So when I was in Ukraine, I think I had 6 months to go or something. I got an email from my family, which was, and I had one of my younger brother and my older sister were also out serving missions at the time. So my little brother was in Spain, and my older sister was in Chile, in Chile, as she would say. And we got an email. Oh, wait, no. They left because of this. Sorry, back up. They were not out yet. I was out. And there's this, part of the context of this story is there's like an expectation that a Mormon missionary, is like the pinnacle of spirituality and the pinnacle of positivity, and like there's no negative anything. It's all like very just vibrant. You can, like, I just imagine like someone who's just, they have light coming from their fingertips, that kind of like just you know the end of Beauty and the Beast, where he's transforming back into a man and like light starts shining out of him. Like, that's what I imagine Mormon missionaries are supposed to be like. It's funny because that scene was always really creepy to me as a kid, but it's the best thing I can think of. Anyway, so I got an email from my family, from my dad, saying, "Hey, we got called. We got basically the church assigned us to go and basically take over So, how do I explain it? They were going to become the mission president of a mission somewhere, which basically means they were going to become the operational director in a certain area of the world. They were going to go and make sure that other missionaries essentially didn't either kill someone, get into too much trouble, or get killed by people. They're like running the mission. They're like the adult supervision, the chaperones, so to speak. And they were going to go and do this in Puerto Rico. And what that meant was they were going to be gone when I got home from my mission. And it also meant that, well, they were going to be gone. My parents were no longer going to be home when I got back from my mission. And for me, when I heard that news, my honest reaction was, no, you're not going to do that. Because what happens to me? Now I'm expected to come home and like figure out life on my own, and where am I going to live? And there was a car that I was supposed to get. Like, are they leaving that there? Are they going to sell it? Like, what's going on? I don't know. I'm not as excited about this as everybody else is. And that is not. That's not the prescribed response from a missionary. Like when I say before that they're supposed to be like with light coming out of their fingertips. Missionaries are supposed to be the ones that are like, yes, follow the direction of the church. Do this is the good thing. This is positive. This is a good step. And I had displayed already earlier. I skipped over that story because it's still a bit emotionally traumatic, of a friend of mine who passed away while I was out. But I had already proven to myself that I was more focused on being real and expressing my real thoughts than I was on like making everybody feel good or like saying the thing that I was supposed to say, because I don't care what I'm supposed to say. Screw that. I know how I'm actually feeling. And at this time, when I got this email, I was not having it. I was not excited about it. And I wrote back to my dad and I said, no, what's going to happen? How the heck am I supposed to, like, I'm going to be barely 21 years old. And now I'm going to come home and try and figure out the rest of my life without a dad, without a mom, like with basically no support system. And it's not like I don't have a support system. I have like 1,000 siblings and 1 billion cousins, right? So it's not like there's nothing. But like to not have your parents is like, that was I don't know, it was traumatic to me. I wasn't excited about it. And and it was partially like selfish. Like I felt a little bit selfish saying that, because it was like, I'm going to rain on your parade. You're all excited about this. But in actuality, everybody else was benefiting from it, right? So my parents were going to go and do something that they wanted to do for a long time. My siblings also were excited about that prospect. I mean, sometimes I think my mom didn't really like the idea of being away from the grandkids for so long, but at the same time, like, this is something that they were very, very emotionally and sort of spiritually excited about. But I was in a position, like my youngest sister was going to go with them. So she was going to have to like learn how to go to school in what amounts to a different country, even though it's like halfway part of the United States. She was going to have to go to a different school in a different place, which was kind of rough for her. But she was still going to be living with our parents. My little brother was going to just go on his mission early, so he was going to be out doing what I was doing. And then my older sister, who wasn't married at the time, was also on a mission. So like everybody else was taken care of, and I was going to come home. In my head, what was going to happen is I was going to come home, have no support system, and just sort of flounder. And I was not excited about that. Like part of it, like I said, was not being excited about not having like my dad and my mom to give me guidance and help me through what I saw as like the important years of my life. But also just like, I was even more basic than that. I was like, where am I going to live? Like, I ended up living with one of my brothers, which was awesome, and I appreciate the fact that I got to stay with him. I learned a lot while I was there. But like, living with a sibling, no matter what they say, no matter what you think, you're an imposition. And I felt like an imposition the whole time, and I was like just looking for a way to not because I didn't like staying there. It was just like, I am not your child. Like, that's not the way this is supposed to go. And I had to buy a car when I got home, and my dad gave me a little bit of money to buy a car, which was kind, which was very, very good. But like all this stuff that I had to figure out, that like I didn't think that I was supposed to have to figure that out. Like the path was, you come home, you stay at home for 6 months or so, then you figure out where you're going to go, and you counsel with your parents, counsel with your dad or whatever, and then you go do it. And it was just, I wasn't excited about it. And I'm sitting in Ukraine, obviously, thinking, getting excited about coming home, and then it's like, well, you don't really know what you're going home to. And at the time, it seemed so radical that I would respond that way. But it turned out that my response, my honesty, and the raw, messy nature of the fact that it wasn't what I was expected to say, and so I'm sure it was surprising and shocking to some of my siblings. But my dad actually read my email to the whole family. They had a gathering. They all got together. They would get together once a month or whatever. And he read the email to everybody. And I wasn't there for it, obviously, but he told me later that the honesty that like just being that honest and being that straightforward allowed them to have some breakthroughs as a family that they had been struggling with that I didn't even know about for years. And I think in general, in business, in life in general, I think there's not enough time. There's not enough time for us to patty cake around life and act like things aren't as important as they are, and try and downplay how things affect us. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like what we talked about yesterday, trying to make it all okay. Not only is it inefficient, but it's never all okay. And so now if you're trying to make it okay, and you're like sweeping all the drama under the rug for the sake of it not being dramatic, now you've got a situation where life is going to smack you in the face anyway, but now you didn't get a chance to express yourself. So now you're in this place where you got to try and like live unexpressed and figure out a way to make that work with you. It just doesn't work with me. And I don't think that I don't think it works, period. And I think that more and more we need to learn how to communicate how we actually feel, and be okay if it causes a little bit of like friction. If it causes a little bit of friction, not like what I talked about today, but like discomfort. right? If you honestly feel frustrated about something and you know that your frustration is going to upset somebody else, it's how you actually feel. So why would you try and hide that for the sake of avoiding some kind of conflict? Like, how is that honest? How is that helpful? I know we talk all the time. It's a common sort of movie trope, like, what do you say if your wife thinks that something makes her look fat? Well, do you think it makes her look fat? If it does, why would you lie? Why would you get yourself? So here's the problem. It's not the individual comment. It doesn't, in that individual instant, it doesn't matter. What matters is the pattern that you put yourself into, the training that you give yourself. If you're always training yourself to tell your wife little white lies, then nothing you ever say to her is true. Ever. You can't like just do the white lies when she's talking about stuff that doesn't matter and then not do the white lies in other situations. Your brain, ask me how I know this, your brain gets trained to always find a way to fudge the truth, because that's become the default. You want to protect her feelings, so you're always fudging the truth. So you're making up stories about things that don't matter. Right? Now you're lying because that's what you do, not because it actually makes a difference. And I think the truth is, it doesn't matter. And if you're not willing to go through 20 minutes or even a day of discomfort where she's upset at you because you said something that she took the wrong way, even though you didn't mean it that way, like, I just feel like it's the easy way out. And it's the same thing, it's not just wives and significant others, it's family members, it's anything. Like, I would rather avoid the conversation altogether. Like, I'm to the point now where I have completely divorced myself of, like, the white lies to make somebody happy, to the point where if I'm truly upset with somebody or truly frustrated, or I have something that I know that I'm going to say that's honest, I'll avoid them. It's like a sparring session. If I go into sparring and I am legitimately annoyed with somebody, I know that if I start around with them, I'm going to throw harder than I should. And it's going to turn into a brawl. Like, I know if I'm legitimately annoyed with somebody, so I'll avoid going with them. Not because I'm afraid that they're going to throw back, because I don't care anymore. But because if I'm annoyed with somebody, I can't not be honest. I can't not let it show through. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at, like, hiding my emotions, hiding the way that I feel about something. And I don't think anybody is. I think anybody who thinks that, oh, I'm really good at, like, not wearing my emotions on my sleeve, it's not real. Right? It's not actually what's happening. I think you get good at lying. And that's your new default, is that you lie to everybody instead of just being truthful and being honest. And, in a lot of situations that may not be the wisest course of action, but at the end of the day, it's the truth. And I would rather be honest than anything else. And so I think, just in general, as you're, regardless of, like, what you're doing, regardless of who it is who we're talking to, you need to learn how to communicate honestly. And I think it comes from, I think the core of it is understanding that you and your opinions are valid simply because you have them. And say them. And, I might not agree with you, and I might think that your opinions are lame, like, and they're terrible, but they're your opinions. And that's just, like, my opinion, man. Like, if I don't like what you say, who cares? If your mom doesn't like what you think, what difference does it make? It's not like she doesn't love you. She might not agree with you, and she might never agree with you. She might never be able to have a productive conversation with you about that topic, but who cares? Be honest. Right? Be truthful. And let the consequences of your honesty be, like, it's almost, I've tried for so long to figure out the best way to sum this up, wrap this idea up so that you kind of understand where I'm getting with it, where I'm going with this. But it's almost like, man up. Like, own the consequences of your choices. And the choices are, you're hiding the choices. You're like, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody about this. Like, just own up and accept the consequence of having an opinion. Because, like I said, not everyone's going to agree with you, but it's like, it sounds so bad, but you're just wasting space if you're not, like, bringing something to the conversation. You're just there, breathing somebody else's air. I know how bad that sounds, but that's I want to accentuate what I'm saying here is if it's not you, if you're not willing to like put yourself behind your actual thoughts and express them, what are you doing? Right? So the caveat to that is, and maybe I'll talk more about this, the caveat to that is you obviously don't just fly off the handle at everybody, right? You can have an opinion and not be a dick. So maybe figure out a way to have an opinion and not be a dick. And in fact, actually, I drove to Arizona last weekend, and while I was on the drive, I actually recorded like an hour-long, it's going to turn into like a training module about teaching people how to do this, because I've brought a lot from Muay Thai, from training, and a lot of the parallels make it that when you understand how it works in fighting and combat sports, it makes it a little bit easier to see the connections of how you can communicate with your significant other, with your family or whatever, to be productive even when you're disagreeing. And so maybe I'll start releasing some of that. I'm going to probably chunk it up into 5 or 7 videos, and maybe I'll start releasing those. So anywho, that's all I got for today. This batch of coffee, I don't know what it is, but it is so smooth. Oh, it's so good. It's like silk on my tongue. It's delicious. And I don't actually know. Maybe one of you can tell me. I don't know if the smoothness of the coffee has to do with the type of coffee itself and the roast, or if it has to do with the way that I ground it. Like if I grind it finer, does it come out smoother? Or if I grind it not as fine, does it come out smoother? Like maybe somebody knows. I have no idea, but let me know. Anyway, today's Wednesday. I actually think that podcast episode still comes out tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving tomorrow, by the way. I think later today I'm going to start posting some more archive video footage from back in the day at Infusionsoft. It's a lot of fun, so we might see some of that a little bit later today. Otherwise, I will see you. No, we're going to skip tomorrow. So I will not see you tomorrow. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Eat just all the food. Just go to town. Diets, who cares? Thanksgiving is about stuffing your face and being gluttonous. So just do it. Lean into it. Don't kid yourself. We'll see you on Friday. I will be in pain probably, as will you, but we can just commiserate in our pain together. And we'll see you then. Peace out.